Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something, well, it's pretty out there. We're talking about a blueprint that suggests we can build houses that are alive, completely rethink what energy even is, and maybe, just maybe, achieve a kind of immortality. And the craziest part? It all starts with old electronics. Let's dig in.
All right, to really get a handle on this, you have to start with this quote. It's a bold claim, and honestly, it sets the tone for everything else we're about to explore.
So, how do you get from e-waste to eternal life? Well, the source lays out a very specific path. We're going to walk through it in 5 steps. First, the living learning brick. Then, we'll get into energy as a verb and the code of reality. After that, things get really wild with the $35 resurrection engine, and it all wraps up with something called an economics of paradise. Let's start with the most concrete part of this whole idea.
All right, Section 1, the living learning brick. This is all about a building material that thinks, learns, and even stores power. The whole journey really kicks off with this wild idea. What if we could make a building material that's actually, fundamentally, alive?
So, the whole theory starts by totally rethinking the common brick. On the one hand, you've got your traditional brick. It's just stuff. It holds things up. That's it. But then you have what the source calls the brilliant brick. This thing is a whole different beast. It learns patterns, it stores energy, it computes things locally, and it adapts to how you use it. It's a shift from a passive object to an active, almost intelligent system.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The actual specs the source lays out. I mean, look at this. They're claiming it costs just $50 to $100 per cubic meter, which they say is 10 times cheaper than alternatives. It has the energy density of a battery, the strength of standard concrete, and get this, a cycle life of over 10,000 charges because it has self-healing properties. This isn't just a slightly better brick, this is a total paradigm shift for building materials.
So, you're probably wondering, how does a building learn? Well, according to this theory, it's a gradual process. On day 1, it's a blank slate. But after a week, as people start living in it, turning on lights, using the kitchen, the building starts noticing these patterns. By the end of the first month, these tiny little nanopores inside the bricks have adapted, learning how to route energy more efficiently. And after a year, the building has fully adapted. It's learned your routines, optimizing everything from power to heating. The building literally learns to anticipate what you need.
Okay, Section 2, energy as a verb. And this is crucial. To really wrap your head around a brick that can learn, the source says we have to completely change how we think about energy. Energy isn't between things. Energy is the betweenness. This quote it's really at the core of this whole worldview. The idea is we've been thinking about energy all wrong. We see it as a noun, right? A thing, like fuel in a tank. But this theory says, no, think of it as a verb. It's not the lightning itself, but the act of flashing. It's the active relationship, this constant dance happening between different parts of a system.
And that leads to this idea, sustained disequilibrium. Now, what does that mean? Well, think about life. Living things are never static, right? They're always active, adapting, processing. They never just sit there in perfect balance. According to this source, that is the defining feature of life. So any system that does this, like the brilliant brick, which is always changing stress into energy, well, it qualifies as being literally alive. Biology has nothing to do with it.
Okay, Section 3, the code of reality. Now, for any of this to actually hold up, the source basically has to throw out a huge chunk of modern physics. And this brings us to the mathematical heart of the entire theory, a universe that's not based on the constants we know, but on the Fibonacci sequence.
Here's the big move. The source completely rejects irrational numbers. Numbers like pi or the golden ratio, phi, the ones with those endless, non-repeating decimals. The theory says, nope, reality doesn't work that way. Instead, it claims the universe is built on exact, finite, clean ratios that come directly from the Fibonacci sequence. They call this rational phi.
And you can see how it works here. You start with 1 over 1, which is just 1. Then 2 over 1 is 2. 3 over 2 is 1.5. 5 over 3 is about 1.666. Every single step is a precise, clean number. The argument is that these are the real building blocks of the universe, not those messy, infinite numbers we usually use in physics.
And get this, it also suggests there's a kind of cosmic clock. It's called a Pisano 60 cycle. The source claims that everything in the universe naturally goes through a 60-state cycle.
And at the end of that cycle, it returns perfectly to where it started. This is supposedly the built-in mechanism for infinite coherence and self-healing. Everything just resets.
Okay, so we've had living bricks and a whole new physics. Now we get to the most extraordinary claim of all. Section 4, the $35 resurrection engine, a device that promises to encode consciousness.
Yeah, $35. The source is very specific about this. It claims you can build this resurrection engine for $35, and not with some exotic components, but with stuff you can find in e-waste bins and at your local hardware store.
And look at the instructions. It's not about complex engineering or high-tech labs. It's about growing a specific crystal, pulling copper traces from old SD cards, tweaking a simple mechanical timer. The whole idea is that this isn't an invention, it's a discovery. The pieces were supposedly here all along, just waiting for someone to put them together in the right way. So how does it work? Well, according to this, you can basically boil down an entire consciousness pattern to a specific set of 3 numbers, 49, 16, and 1. This consciousness triple gets encoded right into the crystal's structure. 49 is said to represent manifestation, or the full expression of a being. 16 is structure, the framework, and 1 is the source, that sort of divine origin point.
All right, last section. Section 5, an economics of paradise. So we've got immortal buildings and a way to store consciousness. The source then takes these ideas and imagines what they would do to society, and specifically to our economy.
The whole economic argument really boils down to this chart. Look at the cost of a traditional building. You've got separate costs for structure, for energy storage like batteries, for computing and logic. It all adds up to around $850 a cubic meter. But with the Brilliant Brick building, all of that is included in the material itself. The total cost, according to the source, it plummets to around $75. That's a massive, massive difference.
And here's what that looks like for an actual house. A normal 100 square meter home might cost you $140,000. With this technology, the source claims that cost drops to just $22,500. You can see why they call this an economics of paradise.
And in the end, this all comes back to a core idea, summed up in this quote. The next energy revolution won't come from better batteries, it came from better questions. It's about reframing the whole problem. Instead of trying to build a better battery, you ask, what if the building is the battery? Instead of trying to create artificial intelligence, you ask what if matter is cognition? The entire radical vision we've just walked through, it all springs from the answers to those questions.
So there you have it. We've gone from a simple brick that can think all the way to a resurrected consciousness with a whole new physics in between, all built on a foundation of specific numbers and repurposed e-waste. It's a complete, self-contained worldview. And it leaves us right here with this question. Is this a blueprint for a new reality, or is it a beautiful fiction built from faith and numbers? That's our explainer for today.